recording and stuff. Okay, hi everyone. With the last minute kind of hiccups and stuff with technology, looks like we've got a somewhat stable connection. So we've got Giorgio Hahn and Brandon Oris Brown here, and we're going to talk basically about what it takes as when you're doing creative projects and stuff to basically build your teams for success. And really, it takes a combination of things and stuff, and it really takes folks who not only have the expertise and stuff, but also the commitments, kind of helping each other succeed. And so for me, like this whole thing with Masterminds has been a ongoing project to basically help specifically creative entrepreneurs succeed, because of the fact that like a lot of times, the last thing they need is another ebook, another course or program stuff. They know what they need to do and stuff. They just need different times somebody to help them focus on what it is that they need to do week by week, which ideally then becomes something that they can do day to day and stuff. So that's really where I'm coming from. George, you want to share a little bit about your story and kind of the things that in terms of building your masterminds around the things you're doing and stuff, and what you've been trying to do in terms of building your success teams?
It's not easy as far as what I've been trying to do. The main thing is trying to find similar goals. And with me, as focused as I might be, as focused as anybody that's an entrepreneur is trying to be, we are all over the place, and we are trying to figure out, okay, what's the next move? And it's not that we're unfocused, it's that we receive and process information so much quicker than the average person that when I learn about something new, it's like, oh, connect that, move that, move that. Well, now the ultimate plan's kind of changed. And when you do that and you're around a group of people that aren't quite on that level, they think you're switching out the final end result or the goal. It's like, nah, dude, since yesterday we thought we were going to reach here, but now we're going to reach here. Like, the goal is liquid. It keeps changing. It keeps getting bigger and better and better and whatever. But that's the hardest part for me. That's my main challenge, is finding people that are willing to grow instantly. I don't need to wait 3 months or 6 months or a year to grow. My man Brandon right here can give me something tonight, give me a little gem, and I guarantee tomorrow I will be operating differently because he told me something that I didn't know about. And I'm like, I'm not going to wait to implement that to my plan. And that's been a huge challenge with building a mastermind, is people feel like they need to wait to implement something into a plan. I'm not going to burn my hand twice on the stove. It's like, okay, this guy told me, hey, here's an oven mitt. You don't burn your hand anymore. I think it's a good idea. As of tomorrow, I use oven mitts. Like, that's it. I don't have to wait a long time to figure that out. And I think that's the hardest thing, is I don't want to be the guy convincing that to a lot of people. I don't want to try to convince a bunch of people like, no, come on, dude, because it's like this, because this changed. If you don't see the changes as they're coming, if you're not a visionary enough to kind of pick up on it and with just a little bit of instructions and guidance and just kind of tweak around your plan and move, it's hard for me to be in that group with you, because I want to keep it moving a lot. So that's my main challenge.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of what we've been used to, the idea that like they had to get legitimacy, like with a recording label or something, like somebody or some institution to kind of allow them to, do what their art and to really produce music or to produce film and stuff like that. And I think what's really changed with, technology and the way things are today, like nowadays, I mean, you have so many different ways to get found. It's a matter of like kind of really the trick is actually figuring out what it is that one is your one way, stuff like that. So I know that Brandon can definitely speak to that about like kind of really how it's
I think you froze.
You no longer have to wait for other people.
Okay.
John, you frozen? You froze on us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back now.
Okay. Yeah, so I was just saying though that Brendan can definitely talk about like kind of how different folk, especially musicians and stuff like that nowadays, you don't have to wait for like the recording labels to give you legitimacy, to give you that go ahead to start basically sharing your music, sharing what it is that you do and stuff. That's one of the things that I'm really big about. Brendan, maybe you can talk a little bit about that, about
Yeah, for sure.
not needing to wait.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's really about, like what George was saying. It's just being able to adjust and adapt to the landscape as it changes. And if you look back over the history of music, technology has always shifted the way that the end user consumes it. Back when there was 8 tracks to vinyls to CDs to tapes and so on and so forth. And you hit on a really crucial point that artists have to understand, is that the days of you saying, I want to get discovered, are over, right? Like, if you're on social media as an artist with the mindset of getting discovered and not understanding that the discovery process is a byproduct of having a legitimate fan base that a label or a manager or an investor can monetize, then you're kind of doing it backwards nowadays. Because the sale of physical copies is not, that entire infrastructure is not the same anymore. So the way that the fan consumes the product, the way that the label promotes the product, is completely different than it was even 5 or 10 years ago. So I just think that there has to be a fundamental shift mentally that makes you say, okay, you know what? I have to get out there and heat myself up first. And anybody can do this with all of the avenues of social media, but you can't approach social media with the old mindset, because trying to get discovered versus trying to build an audience, these are 2 different objectives, and they take 2 different types of strategies.
So what would you guys say to somebody who, like, they're, really, like, trying to figure out what it is for them to focus on, like, right now, because there's so many different things now, right? So in other words, it's almost, we went from like one extreme to the other, where like before there was really just, getting signed by a record label, for example, getting something specific and stuff was, like we've talked about, the old way and stuff. But now there's all these different ways to get known. How does somebody decide, what to focus on, what, and then for that matter, how do they surround themselves with people who can kind of help them to figure out their focus and stuff?
Well, I would first say that, the whole thing with coming up with a plan, and I was in the military, what we call it is a sector of fire, your left lane and your right lane. You have to choose what is your battle, because there's so many things to do. You can't do all of it, but as an indie artist, if you're starting out, you better do some of it. So you really need to figure out, okay, am I going to spend my time on SoundCloud, YouTube, Twitter, whatever else it is? And just like Brandon just said, you're not using the social media to be discovered. You're using the social media to really say, hey, fan, you, one at a time, can you please listen to my music right here? And you're earning business. And one thing that I feel like music artists, recording artists miss a lot of times is that they feel like they don't have to earn your business. I deal with entrepreneurs and business people all the time. If they have a product, they have a service, they have something that they offer, you have to earn somebody's money. But music people a lot of times feel like, oh, they should just come to me and download my stuff and give me money for whatever. But the way I try to flip it on a lot of the recording artists that I work with, I say, what are your personal habits? How do you consume this media? Do you download it? Do you give people 99 cents for a download, or do you rip it from over here? Let's just walk through the regular life cycle of how do you process this information. If you gather media a certain way, then your fans are probably gathering it the same way. Now, the fastest way that I can tell somebody to find their target market is to find the 5 or 10 artists that you feel like are the same type of artists that you are. So you would probably have the same type of fans, and go to their threads and read all of the things that their fans are writing. Those are your fans. You could like, you could follow, you could comment right there. You could join a discussion. And these fans are telling yourself, hey, I like this type of music. All you got to do is go over there and engage them. This is social media. A lot more social needs to be happening, from my opinion. Brandon?
Yeah, that's what
I definitely agree with that.
Ahead,
I think that from a fundamental marketing standpoint, that artists were never required to understand marketing, and they were never required to understand branding and understand the actual human relationship with their audience. And I think that right now, you know, if you want to build a fan base that's responsive, it has to start from a primal level, meaning that, you know, you connect with the fan based on shared values versus this concept of I'm talented, I have music, you should follow me. I think it's more of a collaborative value proposition where it says, I understand what you're going through. And here's how we connect. And so I'm going to create value through my music, through my brand, through my message that will inspire you, entertain you, motivate you. And in return, you will support me with money. I mean, that's basically what we're talking about here. And I think that if you start at that level, then it's easy for you to approach the game with a authenticity that will naturally attract people to you. And then in terms of so many tools and all these things kind of being out there and confusing people, you know, the artists that I work with, I always tell them, look, there's only 3 things that you need to focus on. All right. And the first thing is understanding your fans from a very primal level and understand how to connect to them and understanding who they are and what's motivating them to even listen to music these days. 2 is to capture their name and email addresses. All right. You don't own YouTube. You don't own Facebook. You don't own Twitter. You don't own Instagram. And if you remember MySpace, if something like that happens, because these are publicly traded companies, if something like that happens with any of these sites, overnight, everything you've built, all the money you spent is gone. You never will find these people ever again. So that has to be a priority. And then the third thing is understanding how to monetize the fan base versus the music. And what I mean by this is that creating an experience that you can sell to a fan who has expressed interest in your brand, in your message, I think is the way that you monetize in this current economy.
Can you?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Brandon, can you give me an example of creating an experience? Because I deal with a lot of different bands and stuff like that too, music people. So what can they do to create this experience? What are some suggestions that you have?
Yeah, definitely. So one of the concepts that I teach heavily on came from this guy named Kevin Kelly, who originated this concept of the 1,000 true fans. And I think a lot of people didn't really understand what he was saying. But when I first read the article, I was like, this is like a prophecy, right? Like he's telling us the future of what's going on, but a lot of people were kind of asleep. And so basically what I mean by an experience is that there's this concept called a generative value, which means that if a fan is invested into you as an artist, if they're invested into your brand, your message, and they're invested into you more than just your talent, then what happens is there's a value that is generated out of that, right? That's why it's called a generative value, because the value comes out of the relationship. And so now once that value is generated out of that relationship, then you can start to monetize things like priority access, immediacy, personalization. Let me give you an example. Every single year, like I'm in Vancouver right now, every single year, people pay about $20,000 to go to a Vancouver Canucks hockey game, while other people stay at home and watch the same game from their couch. So, for instance, my father-in-law and my brother-in-law, they're going to a game on the 15th where I think they're paying like $300 to get fourth row with to go see the Canucks. So why are they paying $400 to sit in the fourth row while the thousands of other people are sitting at home watching it for free on cable? Well, it's because of the connection that they have with the brand. The value that has been generated out of that has inspired them to want to spend $400 to sit in the fourth row. And I think artists can do the same thing, not just with a concert, but I teach my students, build a membership site and gamify it and have different levels in the membership site where, for $10 a month, or $20 a month, you're doing a live stream concert. And we've just developed some sites where you can do this live stream concert directly in the site. You can have a button there that people can pay, and it can be on a subscription. And now you're making $20 a month over and over again from performing from your house. So that's kind of an example.
Yeah, it definitely starts with building that relationship is really what we're talking about, and really like doing something that the person who you've built this relationship with values. I mean, that's really the key. Is like it could be, like you said, a live event, or it could be a membership site. It all depends on the particular fans that you have and stuff. That's really the key. Is like, what do they value? I mean, it's not about like what you want to make. It's about what do they want to buy from you. I mean, that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
So in terms of also like focus and stuff, I think there were some great points though. Like I think what I've run into different times is people think they have to be everywhere and do everything. And I have to admit, I've been guilty as the next person and stuff like that. In fact, I do a lot of different things and stuff. But I think the problem with that, with just creative entrepreneurs in general, is that like they're so good at so many different things that then because they are trying to do all these different things and stuff like that, that they're not focused on what it is that they're best at. And that's the trade-off. That's the problem. It's not a problem of that like they can't do all these different types of things and stuff. But the problem is they're in the end, it's only 24 hours a day. That's still like kind of what it comes down to always, is abilities and God-given talents and stuff. That's really what it still comes down to. So it might be, something visual. It could be like, maybe you are best at doing kind of taking cool photos for your fans and then kind of, having a connection with them that way and telling stories that way. Or it could be, shooting videos as George does and stuff. And other times, maybe it's writing. I actually find for me, I've been building a lot more of a connection with people through just writing, just basically blogging and I know that artists sometimes it's a mix. Sometimes they think writing's worth the time and stuff. Other people will say I'm not a writer and stuff. But really, I think the key about it is not about being Shakespeare or something like that. But it's more about telling authentic stories, telling stories that really matter and stuff. And really like kind of I think whatever your pursuit as an entrepreneur is, if you have a story that's compelling and stuff, that's really what will sell a lot more than like, the prettiest picture or, the best looking video and stuff like that. It's really like kind of people connecting with your story and what it is that what's your why and stuff like that behind the things you do.
That's really good, John. I'm glad you said that, because one of the first things, when Brandon deals with his artists, people, students, he has a specific formula he's talking to them about. He's giving them a recipe, basically. And my part, and that's the science, I like to call it. And this is art and science. And as the artist, it's hard to really rein them in and be like, dude, I'm telling you this stuff to help you. I'm giving you this advice because I love you, because I want you to win. I'm not telling you some extra bullshit just to go out here and just do a bunch of bullshit just to do it. And for some reason, in that first little, even if the guy trusts you, even if you have trust and credibility and rapport, they still try to fight you because they just feel like, I just want to go make my music. I want to go do you. It's like, no, it's you. Part of this now is you. And starting out new with social media, they're expecting their social media to grow the way their favorite social media looks like right now. But they need to understand, listen, we're building the platform. This is the baseline of it. So if somebody does discover you after somebody else has shared you, I come over here to check you out. It's like, damn, you look legit. You don't have to have 1 million fans or 10,000 fans, or you don't even have to have 100 fans, but you just look legit and you look consistent. That's the word that I want to add there. Your Twitter's updated regularly, your Facebook's updated, your Google Plus, all these different things. You know, in the beginning, it's like you're talking to an empty room. Okay, that's the best way that I know how to explain this to any new music recording artist. In the beginning, you are speaking to an empty room because we don't have a big budget to come out here and dump into marketing and branding and all this online, traffic. So we're trying to build this thing on our own with just the content that we have. So you have to be prepared for that, and you got to manage your expectations. You have to give yourself goals. I want to get to 100 likes this month. In this 30-day period, I want 100 likes, because sometimes I'm doing stuff for clients who are like, dude, we only got 200 likes on Facebook this month. I'm like, damn good. That's really damn good. You got 200 people you never knew before, and you didn't have to pay for, you didn't have to give money for, and they actually genuinely like your shit. They found you and liked you. You need to write 200 thank you notes and say, thank you for coming to my page and liking my page. A lot of times people send me a request to like their page. So I'm like, fuck it, I'll go like your page. I like it, and I always click the about section. My one little let me just check it out. Click the about section. I would say 80+% of the time there's nothing there or very, very minimal information, and that turns me off immediately. So I immediately write an inbox message, and they respond positively. I'm like, listen, I know you're trying to gain fans, but the best way to do it is give me a lot more information. Go back through and fill out your entire page info, so when I do check you out, you can hook, line, and sinker me. I'm giving you an opportunity to catch me, but even if I'm trying to jump in your boat, you don't even have enough information for me to come over here and be your fan. So it's like a lot of times you guys miss opportunities. Brand new recording artists, you guys are missing the opportunity. Fans are coming to your page. They're actually looking at it, but you're not adding value. You're not giving me an opportunity to like you. You're not saying, here, I respect you enough that I feel like my shit should be filled out every line. You know, it's like, come on, have some respect for me as a fan, earn my business, and I will like your page. I will like your music. I will lend you an ear. I'll go actually listen to what you got. One thing I wrote down here, John, that you wrote was build connection outside of, what you are. So this is huge. One example, I'll offer to you guys that I like to use with some of my artists is Pinterest. Because with Pinterest, it's like, hey, I'm a regular dude. I like regular shit. And I can have a different board for different things. But I'm not pushing my music. I'm not pushing my things on a regular. But as artists, we usually like generally the same stuff. Fashion, music, blogging, film, all these types of things. So when you have these different boards, what I'm seeing now from my experience for different artists that I manage social media for, I'll create a Pinterest for them, and then I'll just like create a rocker style. This person's a rock man. We'll create an entire board of just, different women, different guys wearing different rocker leather jackets, whatever they got. And now all these people are coming by and liking this particular board. But within that board, I've also pinned some of the band's photos. I've also pinned some of the band's content. So now, regardless, you're going to look at Slash, you're going to look at Lady Gaga, you're going to come over here and look at will.i.am, and then you're going to see my band. Now I'm putting everybody in the same mix. So that's just something that you guys could try out for yourselves too.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think that,
I definitely have,
start with a value proposition to their fans, like legitimately sit down and say, okay, this is what I'm exchanging in order for you to follow me, and really map this out. Not just say, okay, I'm in the studio, I'm making tracks, I'm putting an album together, I'm doing this. That's for your benefit, right? Mm-hmm. But if you really step back and say, okay, what is the value proposition that I am offering to this person that I want to support me? Like legitimately, what am I giving them? And then also to create a click trail to that ending result. So, you always tell artists this, you can't expect somebody to come to your Facebook page and just know what to do. Or you can't expect them to go to your Twitter page or Instagram and just know that they're supposed to buy your stuff because you tell them to buy your stuff.
Yeah, you got to give instructions.
Exactly. Like humans are motivated by primal needs, right? So if as an artist, the first thing you have to do is sit back and say, okay, what's a value proposition I can give them in exchange to grab their name and email address? And think about it like either dating or trying to build a friendship with somebody, right? If you just met a woman, you would not just be like, yo, let's get married, right? You're going to talk to her. You're going to see if there's interest. You're going to court her. You're going to be consistent with the communication. You're going to do all these different things to build a relationship. And then you might go to the next base and the next base and the next base and so on. And I think that so many people have this entitlement, like, I created music, you should support me. And it just does not work like that. There's too many artists. There's too many, everybody has a platform. It's got to be really clear on here's what I have for you and here's what I'm willing to give you in exchange for you supporting me.
I love that you said that, Brandon. That perspective of sense of entitlement. I've never really used it for recording artists or musicians per se, but I like that you are bringing it into this world and kind of like a little wake-up call to the artist. The way I describe it is I'm like, listen, if there's 500 plumbers and only one broken toilet, not every plumber can eat. And so it's like, if there's only 5 radio stations and 5 million artists, what are you doing? I always ask them, what makes you unique? What's your differentiation factor? What separates you from the crowd? But I like when you come at them, it's a little bit more aggressive. It's actually probably more my style to say, dude, you're having a sense of entitlement. You're expecting somebody to give you something, but you haven't given them shit. Right. Like, you made music. So what? So what? You made some music. Good job. I'm proud of you. But now what? How have you earned this relationship? And it's a relationship. And because the Lady Gagas or whoever, previously used just Twitter to blow up or whatever else, people are expecting that. But as the platforms have changed, as the landscape's changed, right now we're using the social media as the thing to validate the artist after somebody's interested in them. And the companies, the large publishing companies and the recording companies, they're intelligent. They're smart. These people are business people. They're here to make money. So if they know there's this tool out there that let the fans find their artist and choose the artist on their own, and then they can go sign them, well, shit. I'm like, come on, dude. You're telling me that the crowd, the audience picks the winner for me before I give this guy money? Okay. So now as an artist, you need to figure out how to be that person. Male, female, whatever genre you're in, you need to figure out who are they giving money and why. And what does their entire scope look like? What does their social media look like? What has their personality been like? What is their fan engagement looking like? Everyone says, well, if I had money, I would do this. Well, if I got money, I would do this. No, you need to have money. We need to see your true character. We need to see your true creativity. If you tell me you don't have enough money to do something, that means you're not creative enough. You're not being creative enough in this moment anyways. You could figure.
Yeah, we've definitely talked about that in the past, George, about like the idea that like if you don't understand why that one fan chose you in the first place, never mind the 1,000 fans, it's like, then, if you don't understand what that first fan, why it is that they connect with you and stuff like that, then it doesn't matter if you have 1,000 or 1,000,000 and stuff like that. If you don't get down to that root why, that, like as Brandon says, the primal reason, stuff like that, then it's, your message is lost. You are just still one of, however many thousands of musicians that there are and stuff like that. So that's the thing, is like understanding, what it is about their very true fans, why it is that they connect with you, and what it is that like makes you unique in the whole sea of social media and noise that's out there and stuff. So that's really the key, is getting that, as Brandon says, the idea, the value proposition and stuff. I think that's the thing that like you have to really define clearly before you scale up, because otherwise all you're doing is just amplifying the noise. Because if it's just junk in terms of what it is that you offer and stuff, then that's the only thing that's going to be amped up. It's not going to be a brighter picture. It's going to be more kind of static and stuff like that. Yep. So that's the other part about it. And the thing I've actually started talking about recently and writing about is the idea of trusting the process, and like, in other words, getting clear on that why and stuff, and then just focusing on what is that clear relationship? It could be, through Twitter, it could be through, YouTube. It just understanding what is that, conversation, where it is that you're having those conversations with your fans and stuff, and then building on that. And the key there, I think, is just, really trusting the process. Like if you're not working on it with the same dedication as, we've talked about, George, about like with that, those first few fans and stuff like that, then it's again, it's not going to be better just because you have 1,000 fans or 1 million stuff.
Also too, it's like, I always tell artists this too, you've got to quantify what a fan actually is. Because if you don't know what that actually is, then your expectations for them to take certain actions are never going to connect up. So a fan could be different for, everybody. Like a fan to some people might be, you know what, you gave me your name and email address, you're a fan. Or you bought my music, you're a fan. Or you follow me on 5 of my 10 social media profiles, you're a fan. So if you don't have clear-cut objectives of what a fan is and how to get them to take those actions, then what happens is you default to the, all right, I'm going to shoot a music video, I'm going to put it on social media, people are going to discover me, and they're going to pay me, which does not happen. All right, it just doesn't happen. And just to kind of touch on that too, because so many artists always tell me, yeah, man, I'm shooting my music video, then I'm going to go put it out there, and then I'm not really sure what they're expecting is going to happen, but it's going to be out there, and I spent all this money. And my thing is like, we're in an economy where content is king. Like there are people out there putting out content every single day. So your music video that you just spent all that money for, the kid that's in the basement with the little light on, consistently doing songs, consistently interacting with people on the social media and showing that he cares about them, will blow your $50,000 music video away because he's at the top of mind share. That's how radio worked, right? It's like you see it over, you hear it over and over and over and again. Next thing you know, you're singing the song and you're like, I don't even know how do I even know this? And so that's what I want to encourage artists to understand that too, is that, we do live in an economy where you can be an overnight success. Like you really, like if you understand marketing with all the capabilities that are possible, there are people who put up videos the next day, they have millions of views and now everybody knows them. Everybody's talking about, I can name so many artists off the top of my head who just come out of nowhere. But again, that's few and far between. The best bet that you have is to build the relationship and to not think like you need $1 million, but for $5 a day. Like if you just didn't go to the club or you just didn't, go out to eat or something like that, for $5 a day, you could run a YouTube campaign, which is something that we really focus on. And literally the targeting specificities that you can put your music in front of people, it's way more powerful than radio. You can go by demographic, age, interest. You can create retargeting campaigns. You can make yourself look like you're everywhere for $5 a day. But again, that's up to you if you want to shift your mindset and do the things that are necessary.
Okay, I want to talk about 2 things. Brandon, for you, these videos, very knowledgeable. I've done several of them with a bunch of different people. And as I'm sitting here talking, like, damn. I got full page of notes already. I'm just like, oh, dude, my mind's going crazy. So who needs to watch this? The artist manager, the agent, the booking agent, the artist himself, herself. Who needs to be watching that like this? And as an artist, you might be here for 30 seconds, be like, who the hell are these dudes? Ain't nobody. Click, I'm out of here. But they're the ones that need to hear this the most. So
yeah, that's a great point.
You, Brandon, is who needs to watch this? And then how do we get that person here to say, hey, you do need to invest this 1 hour into gaining this knowledge that will make your life much better. So how does that process work from your experience, your opinion right now? I know it's not an easy question.
No, definitely. I totally understand where you're coming from. And I think the entire industry needs to watch this because here's what's going to happen. This is going on video right now where I'm going to.
I'm going on air. I'm going
on air with my predictions right now. So if you study advancements in technology and just look at business, you can see a lot of missed opportunities. Mm-hmm. Like Sony should have been Apple. They were the Walkman. They had the technology. They had the infrastructure. Why did Steve Jobs come out with Apple and take over the music game? Because they didn't innovate. They thought it was a trend. They thought it was a fad. They didn't understand what was going on. You remember Yellow Pages? Same thing happened with them. Google comes along, says, you know what? We're going to use this technology thing. We're going to innovate, and we're going to make this happen. So the people who need to watch this are the people who want to put themselves into the future of where this game is going. And, you know, I'm going to go on record and say, too, most record execs, the ones that come to me in the background, they don't know what's going on out here. Like, They honestly don't know. Like, they're trying to figure out, like, how do we monetize this? What do we do? And the problem is that they're in a catch-22 because before, when we were in a unit-based economy and everything was based on the physical copy, they had the control because they had the deals with the mom and pop stores, the locations where the physical copy was delivered, so they can monopolize that. Now that that's not relevant anymore, the artist now doesn't know, but they have the control because what they can do now is they can actually create proof of concept. In other words, show the label, show the manager that they have a viable product ahead of time, and then they can go on with the negotiation power and show them numbers. So it really is just a matter of who wants to have the negotiation power. If you're the artist, you don't go into a label or manager talking about, here's my demo, here's my hit songs, here's how many, followers I have. No. You go in there and you show them analytics. Listen, I have a 10,000 person email list. I will put that up against any artist that you have on your label right now who tweets out an album and only sells 10 copies or 100 copies and they have millions of followers. My 10,000 people, if I send out an email right now, because of the relationship with them, they'll spend $100 right now and I can generate revenue. So my question to you, Mr. Record Label or Investor, is would you like to help me scale this business model? Or do you want to go out there and deal with people who only care about likes, subscribes, and followers, and then when they release an album, nobody buys? So that's who wants to do this,
Yeah, it was actually President Kennedy who quoted this idea of the Chinese word for risk being both danger and opportunity, and we're really at a time where there's both. There's like kind of the old ways are in danger of dying and stuff, and the reality is it's happening. It's like kind of but the thing is though, there's also a new opportunity. There's an opportunity for just the smallest artists to just be able to reach people that they would otherwise never reach. It's opportunities for shows that never would have been made and stuff like that, and films that never would have been made. And if you just put up a trailer right now, you can basically get the funding from thousands of fans that would have otherwise never even known about you, and basically be able to kind of have the financing to produce that indie project. So there's opportunity, but it's like you have to absolutely it goes back to building the relationships and kind of identifying what it is that kind of why people want to invest in you and stuff. And that's the other way to kind of look at it too, is if we look at these different things we do as investments, investments in relationships, investments in, our fans and stuff, it's just kind of like we're investing in each other. It's no longer a thing of kind of top down and stuff like that, which is still what we were used to in terms of mindset. We are ideally, partners. We're ideally partners that invest in each other, and you have to kind of think of it both ways. Kind of where the fans see themselves investing in the artist, and the artists see themselves investing their time and their passion in the fans. I mean, that's really where it's you're on a level playing field if you choose to be. If you still believe in the old ways, fine. Kind of. Try to like Brandon said, try to tweet out and try to get a handful of things sold and stuff like that. But until you kind of see that things have shifted and stuff, you know, it's you're actually in your own way and stuff.
Okay, Brandon, thank you for sharing originally about that. You know, the music artist and the managers and what to do and how we're going to be, you know, the trend changing. And John, I appreciate you following up with that. Something you said earlier, John, I wanted to touch back on was trust the process. And I explain this to a lot of people. It's a hard way to explain it, but I guess the best way I know how to explain it is back to the Napoleon Hill teachings of the 1920s, Think and Grow Rich. Mm-hmm. It's you get that seed and you put it in the ground. Mm-hmm. You got to have faith. Mm-hmm. I don't care who you believe to. I don't care who you pray to. I don't care when you just say it's the universe or whatever your thing is. I don't care. I love you for it. I love them. Okay. Do it. Have faith. Like that's it. It's a really easy thing. It's just like, dude, when I put a seed of a tomato plant into the ground, a little bit of water, a little bit of sunshine, a little bit of God. And guess what? Boom, tomato. Like when I put that tomato seed, a cucumber plant doesn't come up. When I put that tomato seed, a lettuce doesn't come up. So what type of seeds are you as an artist, as a manager, as a band putting into the ground? What type of seeds are you planting? And that's what's going to be blooming later. That's what's going to be coming out. You know, that's the more metaphorical way of saying everything that Brandon's been saying, but it really is true. Don't be out here putting out trash and negativity and talking all this and that, and then all of a sudden expect people to like you. How could people like you? You have a bad attitude. You're negative. You know, you're not forward thinking, and then you expect people to give you money. Do you give people with bad attitudes money? Do you give people that are negative money? Do you even give anybody a second chance to listen to them if they're negative? No. So we really got to take it to that spiritual level too, and really understand, like, look, you got to be good. You got to put out good to receive that good. You know, don't be out here like, oh, a bunch of haters. Everyone's hating on me. A bunch of haters. Nobody's hating on you, dude. Everyone has enough bullshit in their own life to deal with. They don't need to go there and hate on your little indie music situation, okay? You are hating on yourself by not giving yourself enough trust and confidence and investing enough time in your own shit. So that a lot of times I got to look people straight in the eyes and say, look, dude, you got to step it up. You can do more. We can always do more. And you need to have your plan built up. Basically, the stuff Brandon was saying, you know, go back and say, what is a fan? Create those rules. What is a fan? Let's really make this algorithm. Let's create this matrix. So when I feel like, oh, I got nothing to do now, no, big guy, you got something to do. You're going to go back to your list and you're going to see what you can do now. So you got to create that. And so if you don't have that created, guess what? That's okay, because now you have an opportunity to create it. You got to look at, you know, like that's what you learned out of this video is you go back and you listen to a full hour of people talking here, and you're going to get 20 or 30 things that you can do to better your situation.
Yeah, in fact, you know, one of the things that Brandon and I have been talking about, just to kind of give you a heads up, George, is having more conversations about this, about what it is for, you know, musicians in particular to kind of do down to like a very fundamental level to basically, you know, build that relationship to kind of really connect and to, you know, basically ways to kind of invest their time. And if each week we can kind of help them figure out that one thing they can do each week and stuff like that to get their success to that next level, I think that's a great thing. Like, in other words, it isn't about, you know, 20 different ways to do whatever and stuff like that. It's, you know, helping them to kind of identify what is that one thing and stuff like that. So next week, I want to invite Brandon back here to talk more about kind of the idea of, you know, starting with storytelling with social media and you know, how to really connect with them that way. And definitely, George, you know, I would love to have you on as well and stuff like that. I think that'll be another great conversation. And what I'm going to personally do is I'm going to commit to inviting some different musicians and the attorneys that specialize in musical law and that kind of thing and stuff like that. Invite them because they've got to understand, you know, and like we've said, it's like part of the problem is that, like, you know, it's great to like kind of have the musicians on and stuff like that, but also different times there's other folks who like they need to know this stuff too. So whether it's the managers, we're going to invite Shavakis back as well. Yeah. So, you know, I think we got to get some of these folks to understand, like, you know, what it is that they can do on a very fundamental level. You know, like, you know, how do you establish that primal connection, as you know, Brandon was saying. So let's meet back here next week. You know, invite some of these folks over, and just each week we'll just give them that one thing to take away. You know, and we'll invite folks to kind of bring their, you know, challenges, what it is that they're struggling with and stuff. So let's get them to, you know, that level.
Definitely.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, and
We're here.
I
think Brandon's a well for people to reach out to for that.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm totally game for whatever you guys want to do. And if it's possible, I want to leave anybody who's on this call with some steps to take so that you don't just hear all this and you're like, all right, there's all this stuff going on. Like, what's going on out here? You know what I mean? Like, let me just give you some straight actionable things that don't require an investor, don't require a record label, don't require a bunch of time, and allow you to just fundamentally understand how to build fans, right? So we talked about like quantifying what a fan is to you. And that's something that you got to decide, what is this to me, right? And then once you decide that, the first step is to figure out the value proposition. So a value proposition means, what are you exchanging in return for, the thing that you want? So if you quantify a fan as somebody who gives me their name and email address, which I highly recommend any artist, that should be your focus. You should be focused on building an asset list of people that next year you can email them directly into their inbox. You know their email is not going to change. And every single day, you could literally, I always tell artists, shoot a video from your phone. Hey, what's going on? It's Brandon Norris Brown here. Just want to talk to you really quickly about, me stepping in the studio, me doing this new song and how it can inspire. You know what I mean? Like, it's so simple. You take that video and you document the journey of everything you're going through. Give people something to relate to, right? Don't just send out emails about selling things, because that just turns people off, right? Yeah. So you basically do that, put this content out there. Like George was saying, consistency is key, right? Take an hour a day to market, right? Shoot the video, put it out there on Instagram, social media, like just everywhere. And then from there, you have these accumulation of videos now that are now introducing people to you, right? And on all the social media sites now, you can link back to, I call your fan capture page. It's like a one-page website where it just links back there, and all you're doing is capturing the name and the email address. And now you have a person for the rest of time. I've had the same email address since I was 15 years old. Like, nobody's going to change. You always have access to that person. And then the last thing I would say is to start thinking in terms of systematizing things, right? So if you know you're going to spend majority of your time in the studio, then think about how, like I do a lot of outsourcing and I teach a lot of people that kind of stuff too. But if you're not quite there yet, think about how you can take one piece of content and curate it. Meaning, like, how can I just sit somewhere and just shoot one video a day, put it on my Facebook page, put it on my Twitter page, put it on this, put it on this, put it on this, and just talk, like have a conversation with people. Mix it with the music. Maybe you come on, you talk about something going on during the day, then you play your music or whatever. And then at the end, you give them some type of call to action. To learn more, go here. And then you send them to your iTunes or your website or whatever. But don't come out the gates like, buy this, go here, gimme. Because would you respond to that? Probably not. So those are some action steps that I just want to leave people with, that I think that if you can really have that fundamental shift, you can really start to do big things.
I agree.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. George, are you still there? Okay. Yeah. So how about you? What's one thing that you want to offer as a takeaway for today for folks?
Planning. You have to plan. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And it's not about, okay, I'm some genius Napoleon planning a war. No, you're just planning the steps of what do you need to do to establish everything that your band or you as a recording artist need established. There's no cavalry coming to save you. There's not going to be some gunships and Cav scouts and snipers and an army of people coming to work with you. No, dude, it's you. That's it. If you're not motivated enough to take care of your own stuff for you, if you don't love you, nobody else loves you. You got to love you the most. And the way you love you is you show it by taking action and creating those lists, creating those plans for each individual thing that comes to mind. It's like you might have an idea pop in your head, but that one idea requires 10 or 15 steps. So you got to have like a running document. You got to have something that where you're just always adding information to. That is essentially you as a business plan. You are creating your business plan. It's this liquid thing that keeps moving of who you are, what you are, when you're going to be that, what you're going to get. You're always telling yourself new information about you. You don't know when you're going to need it. You don't know why you need it, but keep gathering that information. And how you could do that is by having at least the beginning of a plan, something, a working plan, something you can work with. That's what I'll leave you with.
Cool. I have to admit that one thing that I struggle with a lot is consistency, and that's something that, like, one of the things I started in January of this year was the Miracle Morning, and that's kind of really helped me take things to another level. And for me, what that is about, it's not about following some rigid formula and stuff. I kind of treat it as like an open source growth hack, and why I say that is because I basically took that methodology and made it my own. And the thing there is that the choosing each day to figure out what is that one thing that I got to get done first before everything else. And that's something that I've struggled with for a long time. And so for me now, that's been kind of really what, I recommend for folks is, do it first thing, whatever that one thing is that it's going to help you get things to that next level and everything. And part of it is figuring out, like, even before that, like what it is that, like, where your priorities are for sharing your story, for connecting with your audience, picking that one thing and doing it, doing that first. And that's really kind of, for me, the key. And so it's something that I'm actually going to, continue to work on. And then I'm definitely going to share my story, my journey and stuff like that. So, we'll let folks, know about when the next one is and stuff like that. It'll be basically the same time next week. And I think, really, like, we'll connect with the different folks we've mentioned and stuff. And, get the word out, like, I think there's a lot of great stuff that we've shared just today and everything. I know there's a lot more to share, but each time, like, kind of, let's help, these folks to figure out what is that one thing, each day, each week that will really get them to that next level and stuff. So thanks for coming on, guys. Really appreciate your time. Yeah. And thanks for folks who are watching. And we'll definitely, of course, send out the recording of this. It'll be on YouTube, and you can always subscribe to, my channel and stuff like that. And definitely recommend you guys connect with George and Brandon, two great guys. You've heard them and the stuff that they're putting out and throwing down. So. And
how about our life coach, Leah Brown, showing all kinds of love? Thank you.
Yeah.
Leah, mwah, mwah, mwah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leah.
Peace.
All right, then.
All right, guys.
Have a great one.
You too.